Hey guys, it's Matt Fielder with MJF Guide Service giving you your August 12th fishing report for Table Rock Lake. Guys, fishing kind of same as last week. Have had some really good days this week. This morning caught about 36 fish, throwing all artificial baits, 36 bass, and it was a pretty good time. This week, the end of last week, since we last talked, kind of throwing a lot of the same type of baits. Fish are, like we talked about last week, really loading up in brush now, around some type of structure, whether that's a rock pile, a brush pile, stumps, or standing timber. The bass, as the sun gets up, are really concentrating on that. And early in the mornings, you can still pick some fish off of the tops of these treetops, or if they're like chasing shad around, or off the front of some of these dock cables off the front. It seems to kind of concentrate them. So just go find you a big ball of shad that is next to trees, next to brush. It doesn't necessarily have to be on a point. And typically, if you're going to be on the dock cables, it's going to be over deeper water to see them start schooling up. You've got about an hour to get to do that if that's something that you're interested in. Other than that, you can just start that first hour and a half, 2 hours on the bottom, because it seems like that's when they do bite the best, until they start pulling current. And then, it'll start grouping those fish up and you can catch them during the middle of the day. And that's been coming on around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you're at work and you just want to jump out there, or, you've got stuff to do in the morning, but you still want to go fishing, they've been turning that current on around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, run it for, at least an hour, if not a few hours, to get that air conditioning going for the surrounding cities, for when people get home from work. So some of the baits, still, for me, the jig has been the king of the summer, and it is still crushing them for me. Still, on these trips, Pee Wee Football Jig, I'm throwing a 7/16 and PB&J Bass Whacker and the green pumpkin with the orange in it. It has been really solid. I throw a lot of these Pee Wee jigs on my trips because they get a lot of bites, and for the fact of people being able to throw them on a spinning rod. So if you can't quite throw a bait caster yet, the Pee Wee and you still want to throw some not super finessey stuff, the Pee Wee Football Jig is awesome for that, and you can throw it on a spinning rod. So it does a really good job. That light wire hook, you're able to get the hook in the fish's mouth, and it catches numbers, guys, and we've caught some good ones this summer so far, throwing that little Pee Wee. Largemouth are really, they're out now. They are out, off the bank for the most part. You can sometimes still go up there after some of those bluegill chasers, but typically that's like a first hour thing or a last hour thing of the last couple hours when when it's low light. In that scenario, you can still throw around that Pee Wee Football Jig and get some bites. The other key bait for me is still the drop shot. I'm still liking the Morning Dawn. It seems to, continue to get a lot of bites for me. If, say, you've caught several if you get on a school or you get on a pile and you've caught a few, with the jig, but they don't seem to keep biting, that's when I pick up the drop shot. It's just a Robo worm 4.5-inch Robo worm in Morning Dawn color, and Aaron's Morning Dawn as well. They're pretty similar, so I don't see too much of a difference there as far as bites go. A few other things, you know, if you're going to be bait casting, you can still throw the Pee Wee, but I'll opt for a 5/8 ounce football jig, and same colors. You know, sometimes I'll even throw one that's got, depending on the light conditions or where I'm at in the lake, you know, I might throw something with a little bit more blue in it. If the water's a little bit more stained, you know, like this is a brown with some blue and a strand of purple in it. But PB&J is the go-to. Bass Whacker is an amazing color. Those are what I recommend if you just want to get some bites and catch them, and even get some big bites on them. So whether you're fishing schools that you physically can see on the bottom with your graph or your live scope, you can see them, line up on them, long cast, pass the fish, drag it through them, and you know, good chance you're going to get bit. Another thing I've been throwing, I've still been throwing that, you know, shaky head, the custom cast lure shaky head, with either a Berkley Hit Worm or a Magnum Finesse worm. I'm throwing those through brush, as well as the jig, and catching quite a few fish doing that. Another thing I'm doing to those brush piles is, find it, I'm throwing a flutter spoon to those brush piles. And you know, the flutter spoon is going to actually, when you throw it, it's actually going to go away from you. So you do want to kind of keep it, you know, open and let it flutter down and away from you. And then right as it's getting towards that pile, I like to give it a hard pop right on that back. Like once it's getting to the back side of that pile, you know, before it gets hung up in the pile, I give it one hard jerk. Let it come up, you'll start to see fish come out of it, and then normally, you know, on its back, you know, when it's gliding back down, that's when they typically grab it for me. You know, another bait that you can throw in there is a Zoom Monster, or whatever your favorite, you know, 10.5 to 12-inch worm is. The Zoom Monster has been just a staple for me, so I continue to throw it. Another bait that I've been throwing into the brush piles is a Big Bopper by NetBait. It's kind of a unique fork tail worm that gets a lot, like it's almost like a speed worm in a sense, and it gets a lot of bites. Like you're not typically throwing that kind of worm over the pile, but it's been working good for me. Another bait has been the NetBait Big Bopper. It's got bait fuel in it. It's a creature bait, but it's kind of like a brush hog style. A brush hog's also been working in the piles and dragging it. You know, I've also, on some of these points, not so much in the brush, but maybe around the brush, or just if they're schooled up on points like on rock, I've been putting the Big Bopper or brush hog on a wobble head and been getting quite a few bites. So just kind of still simple, your typical summertime baits have really been working. I haven't been catching a ton on a swim bait this week. You know, I'll catch one here and there. Not catching a ton on the, you know, even the forktail minnow style baits either. It seems to be, you know, jigs, drop shots, spoons, worms, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, as we get further and further into the fall, you know, coming up, you know, we're in August, a couple weeks into August here. I do think, you know, you will see those start coming back into play, you know, maybe shortly, but for right now, those baits I just talked about are going to get the job done for you. So thank you guys so much for watching this week, and I hope you guys can get out there and catch a bunch of fish. You know, The water level right now is 916.84, so you know we're right there at normal pool water temps, 84, 86. So they're still biting, guys, and if you can get a day where there's current flowing, it can be really, really good. Or you get like an overcast day like today, this morning was, they're really munching. So until next week, guys, good luck out there, and thank you so much for watching.